Hi everyone and welcome to my little garden. I finally created the courage to do this YouTube channel and share how I'm able to actually grow some of my food here in a busy city like New York City with a very small limited space. I live in a tiny apartment, but I do manage to have a grow light there because I am in a cold region. So here in Queens it would be classified as zone 7B. I have to start my plants inside. I have started a few of them in January. Some of my brassicas right here, they're looking really good. I plan to put some of them here on that green stalk. I love that. It's a vertical garden that helps me with my limitation of space, and it has an amazing watering system. I'm a super big fan. So it's like a vertical raised bed. I do plan to make some raised beds behind me for bigger plants, so stay tuned. We're gonna go through the whole season together. But for now, this is what I'm having. This is February. It's the end of February. It's still cold, but finally getting some sun out. That's why I got the courage to come here and actually film this video. Here are some of my starts, and I have already put some starts in my green stock, hoping that they will thrive. This is my first time growing here, so I'm having to observe. There are two big pine trees right next to me from my neighbor's house, so that provides some shade to my garden in the morning. And I'm in the north, I'm facing north in this front patio, so my apartment shades the patio in the afternoon. So with all these challenges, I'm trying to figure out, observe, and see what I can grow in my space and make the most of it. I am learning about permaculture and native practices as well, on mimicking the patterns of nature to maximize my yield. And because I have limited space, but I really feel that we should be trying to grow some of our food. And here I am in New York City. I want to show that's possible, and hopefully I'm going to be sharing this journey with everyone, and you'll be able to follow me along and see what I'm doing, how's my little garden's going. I'm also a professional chef. You know, I started gardening with the quarantine, and I have always loved nature and being around nature, and that's why I think I love gardening so much. I grew up in a very small town in Brazil with lots of nature around me, lots of beauty. I also lived in Hawaii for 7 years before I moved here to New York City, so I'm very much used to nature, and I had a really hard time moving to New York. I came here for a job to work at a 3 Michelin star restaurant per se. When I moved here, it was really hard because New York City can be really gray. It can be really challenging to feel welcome in the city, and you know, a lot of the pace is different. Everybody's in a rush, everybody's trying to make it, which is great. I became a much better cook and professional, and I decided to, with the quarantine, you know, I lost my job as many other cooks and restaurants. I was working fine dining, and all the fine dining restaurants closed, so we all got let go. And I needed to stay busy, and I finally thought maybe I would try to garden. Maybe I would try to bring this nature that I miss so much close to me, and also grow my food, because I'm a cook and I really value ingredients. I felt so deeply connected when I started gardening as a cook, as a chef, being able to see my ingredients and actually see the value, what it takes to nourish them and see them grow. It was just like life, like a major game changer. I have finally connected the last dot that was missing. Now I know how to nourish a crop from seed to plate, so I know what it takes for the crops to grow. I understand seasonality. I'm highly experimental, and I wanted to just make things work. So you know, there's tons of YouTube videos out there, as you guys will see, but I couldn't find anything actually in my region. It was very hard for me to find urban gardening here in New York City, in my region, with my climate, so it was extremely hard. So I decided, hey, maybe because I learned so much and I was able to have a thriving garden, I should come here and teach other people how to do it too, because I was there in the same position like about a year ago, and I couldn't find the resources. So now I spent a whole year collecting resources, experimenting, and seeing what worked from year, not learning about my climate. And now I decided to come here and share all of this knowledge that I have learned, and I'll share my experiences along the way, my successes and failures, and so everybody can see here how we can grow a garden together. and I am very excited to film more videos and to come out here more. Excited for sunny days in spring. So I'd love to hear about you too. Where are you gardening from? If you also have a hard time finding your zone and finding gardeners close to you, especially if you're in an urban setting. I could mostly find people in California. I'm here in New York, so I'm trying to help everyone, all the fellows here that also want to garden and grow some of our food for many reasons that I will talk more about later. This is an introduction video. I didn't want to be so long, but anyways, please let me know where you are from, what you like to learn, the challenges that you currently have, and if you are growing a garden, what are you growing and what would you like to learn. Okay, so here's my background. Sorry for my shadow in there, but the sun is right behind me, and this is a good time for me to film. But I have some herbs down there. They were inside with me. They were overwintering. They were inside my apartment. Now it's a little warm. I'm taking them out here to harden them up. And I have some of my little baby seedlings here that I showed in the video. I want to put some of them in my green stock. I already had put some in there. You can see how much bigger they actually are because they're here than they're there, because they're not getting more soil and more nutrients, so they grow much faster when you transplant them. And these guys here, believe it or not, they overwintered. I have that cabbage in there that's been here. It's been there since the fall. It's a Chinese cabbage. Not sure what's gonna happen to it. I'm just really experimenting and see if it survives. I have some garlic on that side, and I have this kale that also have been here since the fall and got snowed on and everything. I have these little hooks, so I did cover them. Now it looks much nicer. Before I had plastic flimsy ones. I decided to get a little better ones. It was totally worth the investment. And I have that one that looks nice there is actually a purple sprouting broccoli. So this Brussels sprouts here, they have a little bit of new growth. Not doing very great. You see how the leaves are droopy. I have no idea if they're gonna make it or not, but again, highly experimental. I want to experiment and see just what's going to happen with them. And little broccoli in there, also green, purple sprouting broccoli, sorry. I have some garlic in there. I have this garlic here was literally under snow, and these carrots I thought they were gonna die, they're gonna make it also from the fall. They have like teeny little carrots in them, if you can see it. Let me start to zoom in. There you go. See those carrots? I thought they were gonna die. They're probably not that big, but I am just living in there just again as an experiment. I'm learning as I go. This is a beet, doing really good. Lots of new growth, and hopefully it'll be ready to pick soon because I want to reuse that pot for something else. Not a Brussels sprout here. This is a smaller one, doing a little good, but this is also have been here since last year. But you see the difference between these and that one? Maybe because I gave that much more space. That one grew much more than this little guy here. Sorry, a little busy street, so I am in Queens, New York City. It's noisy here. I have a little sage in there. Again, the broccoli, kale, more broccoli. The pot under has nothing in it, whatever was that died. I'm just using to make them a little taller, get more sun. And this is actually dead carrots. So let's see how those things are gonna go. I have a few little lettuces up there and more garlic down here. I think I'll show that. I have some shallots in here that was covered. This plastic is in here. I took it out to film, but I'm keeping them covered. They look to be doing good. They grew a lot more than I thought they would be growing. But there are another shallots over here, and those guys, okay, other shallots over here. Those guys have been protected in the greenhouse the whole time, so they're not getting as much sun, but because they're in the bottom. But they look much better than those guys there. They're the same, but these ones are not as far ahead. I guess I left them outside and they grew taller. They're a little bit droopy now because it's been cold. Hopefully they'll come back. And I have more seedlings here. I have some lettuces that I plan to put out. Those are kohlrabi, cauliflower, some broccoli, some more kale. I love kale. Kale's super resilient. I'm loving it, so I want to plant more. This is some sweet chard, some snow. And I have leeks and chives in there. I never planted leeks before. So this is an experiment. We'll see. I'll try to interplant them with my brassicas and my future raised bed when I have one. So those, see that area over there where there's snow? This area usually melts faster because there's more sun on that corner. I always been out there in the summer too. My sunflowers grew much taller in that corner. And then once the snow melts, it's soil underneath. I'm gonna build raised beds over there and try to put all my brassicas in there. And this side here, I always get very shady. See how much snow? So that's where my compost is. It's buried in the snow. That's our stall. There's some work been composting. I mean, I haven't been now because I can't reach out to it, but this is the plan for next year garden so far. This is going to be for the spring garden, and then summer hopefully is going to be looking much different too. I wanted to use the most out of my space. That's why I'm deciding to do a spring garden and a summer garden. I also want to put peas all over in the back to give us some privacy. When we had sunflowers in there, it did give us privacy and it was really good. But the gardening is like my therapy, so I like to come here in the morning and have my coffee and read a book. It's like my new little time for myself, and then I get on with my day. But it's hard now, obviously because it's cold, but also because it's very exposed. So another great benefit of gardening for me, it's the privacy that will provide, which is really like my little sanctuary. But also my main goal here is really to grow food. So but I am pleased to, even if I don't have a super huge yield, I feel so happy to be around plants and to feel close to nature. That's for me is already worth it. What really matters for me is the experience of having a garden and nurturing the crops and learning along the way, because even if I don't have a super good year, guess what? I'm learning from it. Time. It is definitely worth it for me for the experience too, so that's what I want to encourage you to do too. It's important to start one step at a time. My goal is in the future have a bigger apartment or house even and grow a lot of food, but you got to start somewhere, and I see this for me as a learning experience. And whatever I can learn here, all the crops that I get a chance to work with here, I'm learning about their pests that will attack them, because that will happen. I'm trying to garden organically, so I don't add any pesticides or anything, and the more that I do it, the better I'm gonna get at it. It's just anything in life, you need experience, you need practice. So for me, this is where I'm standing with my garden right now. And if I do have a bumper crop, like a bumper, like a super awesome harvest, amazing, I'll be super happy. But for me, what matters the most really is just the experience of learning about gardening, learning what works or not in small spaces, experimenting, and being prepared for the next year. You know, there's always another year that we can try, and hopefully we learn from our mistakes, and then we get better over like year after year and after year. And but for me, just having this little garden that I have right now with a little bit of, with this little starter and plants and some more mature plants in the back, already makes me so happy just to come out and care for them. So that's truly my biggest drive here. So thank you so much. I hope to keep sharing more, and until next time. Okay, so just if you're curious, this is how I get to my place. You know, there's a little, that's my front yard, but I live in this building. Oops, my address over there. But getting to over here. So I'm not like a lot of the gardeners here. They go outside and rent their garden and have to go to my apartment. But I'm lucky to live in the first one over here. Also try to overwinter some peppers in there. More about that coming. And here, this is just the brightness. Here are my grow light set is right in my kitchen. I walk right to it, but I have the plants that I'm planning to put it out on the summer. Over here, the peppers are a little bit farther along because they take a very long time to grow. But I have just sold my tomatoes up here. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much and have a great day.